So what's new in Atlantean Sprights? Well, Tidal Dragon. The Atlantean Sprite deck has many water monsters that like to be sent to the graveyard, so it's the perfect fit for Tidal Dragon. Nimble Angler can be sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard to summon 2 Nimbles from your deck, and it's not once per turn, so you can use Tidal Dragon to send 2 Nimble Anglers to the graveyard and special summon 4 Nimbles from your deck. So with this hand, we're going to activate Minstrel, and then use Minstrel to look at the opponent's hand. We could discard Nimble Angler, but in case they have a max C, we don't want to do that. With Minstrel, we can look at their hand, and if they bricked, we can pass our turn. This person obviously did not brick, though you would discard the Nimble if you didn't have another card like Tidal Dragon to discard it. So here we're going to use Diva to summon Prince, and then use Prince to send a Dragoon to the graveyard. We'll use Dragoons to add a Mulinglacia. To get 5 water monsters in the graveyard to special summon Mulinglacia, we'll link our Atlantean Prince and Deep Sea Diva into a Puzzleomino in the extra monster zone. Then special summon Mulinglacia in the zone that Puzzleomino points to. We'll activate the effect of Puzzleomino to turn Mulinglacia into a level 2 monster. Mulinglacia rips 2 cards, and we happen to discard a Nibiru. Fortunately, we summon our Mulinglacia on the 4th summon. Now we can send our Nimble Angler to the graveyard with Tidal Dragon, and send another Nimble Angler from the deck to the graveyard, and activate both Anglers to special summon 4 Nimbles from the deck. Using Puzzleomino and a Nimble monster, we will link summon into a Sprite Sprint. Sprite Sprint is usually used to send a Nimble Angler to the graveyard, but we have more than enough materials to do our combo, so we're going to send a Sprite Red to the graveyard instead. Using Sprite Sprint and Mulinglacia, we're going to Exi summon into Gigantic Sprite. Gigantic Sprite detaches 1 material, and then we're going to special summon a Sprite Blue, use it to add a Sprite Jet. Now using 2 of our Nimbles, we will Exi summon into our Melfi of the Forest. We'll detach 1 material from Melfi of the Forest, so we can add Melfi Caddy to the hand. Then we'll special summon Sprite Jet, and use it to add a Sprite Starter to the hand. And using Gigantic Sprite and a Nimble, we'll link summon into a Sprite Elf. Sprite Jet and Sprite Blue will then link summon into a IP Masquerena. Then we'll activate Sprite Elf to special summon Sprite Red from the graveyard, and then activate Sprite Starter to special summon a Sprite Carrot from the deck. On the end phase, we'll special summon our Melfi Caddy from the hand. So this is going to be really difficult to break. The opponent only has 3 cards. On the summon of their barrier statue, we will add Melfi Caddy to the hand, and then add Melfi Penny to the hand, and then use Melfi of the Forest to negate the effect of their barrier statue. So normally we'd use Sprite Elf to special summon the Sprite Sprint from the graveyard, but we were a little bit too trigger happy here. So we're going to activate the IP Masquerena, and then use the Link monster we special summoned to link summon into a Nightmare Unicorn. We're going to use Nightmare Unicorn to discard the Atlantean Dragoons, and target their back row and shuffle it back into the deck. Then at any point during this turn, we can special summon the Melfi Penny, and synchro summon with Melfi Caddy into a Herald of Arc Light. So we still have 3 more negations on the field, and the opponent only has 1 card in their hand. We use Sprite Red to tribute a rank 2 monster, and negate and destroy that monster. So the opponent isn't hitting that surrender button just yet, so we're going to hit the fast forward button, so we can link climb, we can summon Tidal Dragon from the graveyard, and then we can go into the battle phase and knock the opponent out. Any deck that can spam level 2 monsters can use the number monster number 2 Ninja Shadow Mosquito to OTK. So let's try to get some fish on the field. So the opponent negated our Tidal Dragon, but we still used Tidal to discard our Nimble Angler, so we'll activate the Nimble Angler, but the opponent negates it with their Tearlamentral Kalos. In order to do our combo, we just need to summon Sprite Sprint, so hopefully this next card resolves. We'll activate Sprite Starter, special summon Sprite Blue, use Sprite Blue to search for Sprite Jet, and then special summon the Sprite Jet, use Sprite Jet to search for Sprite Starter. Using Sprite Blue and Sprite Jet, we'll link summon into our Sprite Sprint. If Sprite Sprint is special summoned, we can send a level 2 monster from the deck to the graveyard. We'll send a Nimble Angler. We'll activate the Nimble Angler, special summon 2 Nimbles from the deck, and then normal summon our level 2 monster from the hand. Using Sprite Sprint and our level 2 monster, we can Exi summon into a Gigantic Sprite. Since we already used up our Sprite Blue, we can special summon any other level 2 from the deck. Swap Frog would be the next best thing to summon, but it got limited. Next, we'll link into Sprite Elf, and then use Sprite Elf to special summon a level 2 from the graveyard, and then we'll Exi summon using 2 level 2 monsters into our number monster number 2 Ninja Shadow Mosquito. So to do the Mosquito OTK, we need Mosquito on the field with either 2 other monsters or with Nimble Sunfish. When attack is declared, you can activate the effect of Mosquito to target and place a counter on one of your opponent's monsters and negate its effects. Our Nimble Sunfish will summon more Nibbles from the deck. Every time we declare an attack, we can activate Mosquito's second effect to deal damage to the opponent equal to the attack of the monster with a counter on it. So you want to place the counter on your opponent's monster with the highest attack. As long as you have Mosquito on the field with either 2 other monsters or with Nimble Sunfish, you'll be able to do this OTK. So now we're going to run it back to the Mosquito OTK again, but this time we're going second against Sword Soul. So we drew into a Lapis Dragon, we're just going to special summon it. So we're going to use the cards in our hand to extend as far as we can, and hopefully use up as many disruptions as possible from our opponent. We'll activate Call By in response to their Ash Blossom. The opponent's Sword Soul, Sinister, Sovereign is going to be a problem. It will banish any monster that we might special summon. So we're going to try to bait Sinister Sovereign. Call By the Grave resolves, banishing the Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's negated. Sprite Blue resolves, adding Sprite Jet. The opponent responds with a Droll and Lock, so we can no longer add cards to the hand. We'll link using Sprite Blue and Lapis Dragon into a Sprite Sprint. Use Sprite Sprint to send a Nimble to the graveyard. The opponent responds to that summon with Sinister Sovereign, banishing the Sprite Sprint. Nimble Angler is sent to the graveyard. We'll special summon 2 Nimbles from the deck. Using those 2 Nimbles, we will link summon into a Sprite Elf. This will protect us from targeting from the opponent's Sword Soul Grandmaster. So we discarded a monster with Tidal Dragon, and the opponent negates that Tidal Dragon with Call By the Grave. We'll activate Sprite Elf to special summon a level 2 monster from the graveyard. And we're pretty much set here for the Mosquito OTK. We'll Exi summon using those 2 level 2 monsters into a Mosquito, into a zone the Sprite Elf points to, so Grandmaster cannot negate us. We'll activate Mosquito on the declaration of the attack. We'll place a counter on either of the opponent's monsters, they both have similar attacks. Nimble gets destroyed in battle. We'll activate the effect of Sunfish to special summon 2 more Nimbles from the deck. So here is where you might run into a misplay. We declare an attack and we activate Mosquito's effect, but we activate the wrong one. We place another hallucination counter on the opponent's monster instead of inflicting more damage to them. There may be games in which you do want to negate more than one monster, but this one really wasn't one of them. Fortunately, we do still have another monster to attack and go for game. Off to the next match. We're gonna normal summon our Deep Sea Diva, special summon the Atlantean Prince from the deck, use Prince to send Dragoons to the graveyard, add Dragoons to the hand, use Dragoons in the graveyard to add a Minstrel to the hand. We'll activate the Minstrel, pitch the Atlantean Dragoons, look in the opponent's hand and banish a card that we don't want to be discarded. If Rhino Heart is discarded, they can start a Tearlament combo, and we don't want to do that. We'll link Diva and Atlantean Prince into a Puzzlemino. Into the extra monster zone, we'll special summon Mulling Glacia in a zone it points to, activate Puzzlemino to change the level of Mulling Glacia to level 2. Mulling Glacia then rips 2 cards from the opponent's hand. They discarded a Scream, so they'll be able to add a Tearlament Trap card to the hand. We'll use Tidal Dragon to discard the Nimble Angler from our hand and send a Sprite Carrot to the graveyard. I could have also sent another Nimble Angler to the graveyard, but we're going to do that later with Sprite Sprint anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So here we're going to link summon into Sprite Sprint. Use Sprite Sprint to send Nimble Angler to the graveyard. We'll use Nimble Angler to special summon 1 Nimble from the deck. Sadly, we still have the other 2 Nimbles in our hand. Then we'll Exi summon into Gigantic Sprite. Use Gigantic Sprite to special summon a Sprite Blue from the deck. Use Sprite Blue to add Sprite Jet. Using Mulling Glacia and Sprite Blue, we'll then Exi summon into a Melfi of the Forest. If Mulling Glacia leaves the field, it will skip your next battle phase. But we can avoid that effect by Exi summoning with it. We'll use Sprite Jet to add Sprite Starter. Then we'll link summon into our Sprite Elf. Use Sprite Elf to special summon a Sprite Blue from the graveyard, and then link into a IP Masquerina. Now we can activate the Sprite Starter, special summon a Sprite Red from the deck, activate Melfi Caddy from the hand, and pass the turn to the opponent. So this is just a standard Sprite combo. And decks that use the graveyard like Tearlament is going to struggle against this because we can use our Melfies to special summon a Herald of Arc Light. So on summon, we'll activate the Melfie Caddy. And because the opponent has a monster on the field, we can use Sprite Elf to special summon a Link 2 monster from the graveyard. We'll special summon Sprite Sprint. Sprite Caddy will let us add Sprite Penny to the hand. The opponent sends a Sheer into the graveyard. We can only activate Melfie of the Forest to target one of their monsters and negate it when Melfie Caddy is bounced to the hand. Though this negation doesn't really do anything for us. Because we bounced a beast to the hand, we can activate Melfie Penny, special summon a Herald of Arc Light by synchro summoning with Melfie Caddy from the hand. And now any monster sent from the main deck or hand to the graveyard will be banished instead. That's going to hard counter Tearlaments. The opponent fusion summons into a Tearlament Kid Kalos. On summon, we'll activate Sprite's Friend, detach one material from our Eggsy, target the Kid Kalos, and bounce it. So Atlantean Sprights is one of the decks where 60 cards is just better, and we can make really good use of things like Small World to increase the consistency. We can use Small World not just to search for starters and extenders, but we can also use it to search Max C and even Ash Blossom. So the opponent did have some kind of hand trap that was pausing the game, so I used Small World to search Ash Blossom. It did happen to be a good gamble because they did activate Max C. We'll negate that with our Ash Blossom. Negate. Now we'll special summon Atlantean Prince from the deck, use Prince to send Dragoons, use Dragoons to add a Sea Serpent to the hand, we'll add Mulling Glacia, pitch the Dragoons with Minstrel, banish the Nibiru from their hand, then activate the Dragoons to search for Lapis Dragon, special summon Lapis Dragon, and here we'll link summon into a Puzzle Amino. With 5 water monsters now in the graveyard, we'll special summon Mulling Glacia and activate Puzzle Amino. Change Mulling Glacia level 2, hopefully discard some Makonkos, and then link summon into our Sprite Sprint. We're saving our Mulling Glacia for an Eggsy summon. We don't want to link it away and skip our next battle phase. We'll use Angler to special summon 2 Nimbles from the deck. Now we can Eggsy summon with our Mulling Glacia and Sprite Sprint into a Gigantic Sprite. Activate Gigantic Sprite, special summon a Sprite Blue, use Sprite Blue to add Sprite Jet. Then link summon with our Nimble Angler and Manta into a Melfie of the Forest. Activate Melfie of the Forest. Add Melfie Caddy to the hand. Special summon Sprite Jet. Add a Sprite Smashers to the hand. So we didn't add Sprite Starter because we know we're playing Makonko and they can't really be targeted or destroyed. We want to get rid of their Makonkos by banishing it with Sprite Smasher. And that's one of the advantages of this deck, is that we can use Minstrel to look at the opponent's hand and then tweak our end board to best counter the opponent. The opponent will get their Nibiru back and they only have 1 card left. So normally in a Sprite deck, you'll wait for the main phase 1 to activate Max C. In case the opponent activates Call by the Grave, you can then special summon the Max C from the graveyard. We know Makonko doesn't play Max C, so we can activate it in the standby phase or draw phase. So the opponent is making me wish I had a Sprite Carrot on the field to negate spells. We do have 1 out here. We're going to activate the IP Masquerena and link summon into Avermax. This Avermax cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and that's going to be a really big problem for Makonko to get rid of. So they can't attack except to attack Avermax, and with that the opponent's just going to scoop. So this deck does use Icejades. We have Icejade Ron and Icejade Jameer in the extra deck. Icejade Ron gives us another card to discard our Atlantean Dragoons and Nimble Angler from the hand. We also have Area of the Water Charmer in the extra deck. That's just in case the opponent does destroy Icejade Ron and leaves the token on the field, and then you're locked in summoning only water monsters from the extra deck. Well, you can use Area of the Water Charmer to get rid of the token. So some people will try to outsmart Deep Sea Minstrel by keeping their Max C in the hand, so we're forced to banish it and not the other hand trap. What will happen is that when we summon our Mulling Glacia, the opponent will then activate their Imperm and negate Mulling Glacia from ripping their cards. But was this really the better strategy? I would argue that activating the Max C would have been way better for them because then they could have drawn into other hand traps, but only if they have other hand traps in their deck to draw into. We'll discard Tidal Dragon with Icejade Brawn, special summon a level 3 token, and then synchro summon into a Icejade Jameer. Using the Tidal Dragon in the graveyard will banish 2 water monsters, special summon the Tidal Dragon, and then link using that Tidal Dragon and the Puzzle Amino into a Sprite Sprint, just to avoid having to link summon with our Glacia. We'll send Nimble Angler to the graveyard, special summon 2 Nimbles from the deck, and then using Sprint and Glacia, we'll Exe summon into our Gigantic Sprite. Then using the 2 Nimbles on the field, we'll Exe summon into our Melphi of the Forest. We'll activate Melphi of the Forest, detach 1 material to add Melphi Caddy to the hand, then activate Gigantic Sprite, special summon Sprite Blue, add Sprite Jet to the hand, special summon Sprite Jet, add Sprite Starter to the hand, and then link summon into our Sprite Elf, and then use Sprite Elf to special summon one of our level 2s from the graveyard, and then use 2 monsters to link summon into a link 2 monster into our IP Masquerena. We only have room for 1 more monster. We'll special summon our Sprite Red, and with the last space, we'll special summon the Melphi Caddy from the hand. The opponent will get back their Max C. So this is the ideal board for us. It's the standard Sprite combo with Jameer on the field. On summon, we'll activate the Melphi Caddy, bounce the Melphi Caddy to the hand, add Melphi Penny to the hand. We'll activate the effect of Melphi of the Forest, because why not? Then we'll special summon Melphi of the Penny. The opponent responds with the Max C. We'll chain the effect of Sprite Red, tribute our Melphi of the Forest, in order to negate the effect of the Max C. Negated. Now Melphi of the Penny special summons, and then synchro summons with Melphi of the Caddy into our Herald of Arclight. Now that the opponent has a monster on the field, we'll activate Sprite Elf to bring back our Sprite Sprint. The opponent special summons a Mech Knight. We'll activate IP Masquerena. Then the opponent activates the effect of that Mech Knight. We'll respond with Icejade Jameer. Jameer will banish the last card activated on the same chain. Mech Knight fizzles out. And now we'll activate my IP Masquerena. Summon Nightmare Unicorn. Discard the card in our hand. And shuffle their monster back into the deck. The opponent summons another Mech Knight. On summon, it activates an effect. We respond with our Herald of Arclight. Tribute our Herald to negate the effect of that monster and destroy it. And with that, the opponent scoops. So the Atlantean Sprite deck really likes cards that discard because we have our Nimble Anglers and Atlantean Dragoons. In the past, we had a 61% chance of drawing those cards that discard. With the new cards, Tidal Dragon, Icejade Brawn, and Icejade Cradle to search for Icejade Brawn, we now have an 86% chance of drawing cards that discard. So it's a pretty significant boost to the consistency. And we need all the help we can get since this is a 60 card deck. Another thing to note is that we are using Area of the Water Charmer in our extra deck. This is just in case the opponent destroys your Icejade Brawn and leaves only the token on the field. So you need Area of the Water Charmer to get rid of that token so you're not locked into summoning only water monsters from the extra deck. I also swapped out the Sprite Smasher spell for the Sprite Gamma Burst. This gives us a little bit more power when going second if we want to OTK. So that's it for now. If you want to find the deck list, you can find it in the description. And if you want to look for an old guide that I did on this video, most of it is still relevant, you can check out a link here.